Well, hi, everybody. It's the Week in the Tackle podcast, the podcast where we get together on a weekly basis and tackle things in the world of football we thought were interesting. I'm Tom Rennie. Alongside me is MLS broadcaster, USA soccer legend, and impossibly handsome 40-something, Brian Dunny Dunseth. Hey, buddy, you all right?
I'm doing fantastic. Much better than Guido Rodriguez trying to bounce around the midfield at West Ham United.
Yes, I mean, that is something we'll talk about a bit today. Not a lot, but a little bit we're going to talk about it. Before we do that, just a quick word from last week. We mentioned at the top of the program, subscribe to our YouTube page. This week, we added 100 subscribers to our YouTube page because we remembered to talk about it in the program that we do. So if you are one of the listening thousands, it's great to have you with us on the podcast, but why not pop over to YouTube right now and subscribe to Week in the Tackle? You'll get to see us, and my camera's moving about a bit today because I forgot to turn it off just like last week. Some people enjoyed it, so I'm sticking with it. Go to YouTube now and find Week in the Tackle. It'll come up on your YouTube page, so if you're watching something crap about the news, oh, that's depressing, isn't it? The next thing will be us talking about the football. What more could you want? So subscribe on YouTube. Do it right now. It's free. We're not charging you for this. It's free to do it. And if you're listening on one podcast platform, subscribe on another, and just tell your friends that you enjoyed the program. Another 100 this week from you lot. Okay, let's make it happen. Right, loads to talk about this week. The Premier League is up and running. I do want to whinge about West Ham. I do want to ask you about this Eza free kick thing, and I want to find out about Thomas Muller playing for Vancouver Whitecaps because I'm super excited about. I just think it's going to work really well. And I didn't watch the Whitecaps game, so I want to talk about it. But let's start a bit broadly because looking at the table from the first weekend, it already feels like that's not too far off the table it's going to end with. Yeah. Like, beyond Sunderland being in the top three, I'm not sure what happened to them this weekend, but like City and Liverpool scored 4, played well, big wins. Arsenal hard fought, not amazing victory in terms of performance against Man United, but in the end, going to Old Trafford to a pretty decent looking Man U and winning is pretty decent. Like, are we there already? Do we have the lay of the land from the first weekend?
Yeah, maybe the outliers, Chelsea, not getting the full 3 points against Crystal Palace. But again, that's Crystal Palace showing us that they can figure out ways to beat Manchester City, ways to beat Liverpool, and ways to go to Stamford Bridge and walk away with points. I do have an issue, and at some point, I know we'll kind of get into the Eze conversation, but I really don't want them to sell. I really don't want Steve Parish to even pick up the phone when Daniel Levy's on the other end, considering Tottenham have very evidently and obviously waited for the expiration clause on Eze's contract to open up, because effectively now you're talking about what, maybe between 15 and 17 million that is being taken off the table for Crystal Palace. And I've been sucked in to the vortex of Tom Rennie and his own algorithm with how these players should try to stay with their team and create bigger teams as opposed to be the next up-and-coming player and be sold to the next type of juggernaut. So in the midst of all this, there's credit where credit's due. I do agree with you. There were some really good performances, some fascinating performances, and maybe a couple outliers where there's some serious concern about the defensive frailties for teams that can effectively outscore 95% of their opponents.
I wanted to ask you about Man United, but broadly, it's sort of a West Ham question as well. It goes to a conversation you and I have had quite a lot on this podcast. Like, I was watching Ruben Amorim's post-match press conference following the Arsenal loss, and he said, and I think he was right, he said, we were the better team and I was pleased.
Yep.
And like Graham Potter obviously couldn't do that, but he did say something like, oh, you know, the first half we were good and it sort of fell apart in the second half or whatever. And like watching some of the other teams, I watched Liverpool in full at the weekend. Obviously, did the Man United game. I watched West Ham in full, unfortunately, this weekend, and the late game Saturday as well, the Wolves-Man City game. And it's like there is something about the Premier League, right? There's a reason why crap clubs can pay £100,000 a week, and the reason is Lucas Paqueta. The reason is that there's so many eyes on it, and in the end, what matters most is winning. And there's so much of football, Dunny.
Yeah.
There's youth team, there's women's football, there's championship, there's whatever, right? There's Major League Soccer, but there's a second tier and all that, right? There's so many different leagues where how you develop players and all that really matters. But at the sharp end of the league where you get the most wages in the world, did you win is question one.
Yeah.
And if you didn't, quite rightly, people's hair is on fire because everyone earned £100,000 this week, more or less, right? So, like, are we now beyond the point where there is a acceptance of that from Amorim and from Potter specifically, but others too, because they had a 6-month free hit and pre-season,
Yeah.
and yet they come into this season. I mean, let's just go with Man United first, because West
Yeah.
Ham's a whole other thing I want to lose my mind about later. But like, yeah, did they get better? Yeah. Was Mbuma okay? Yeah. Was Cunha good? Yeah, very exciting.
Yeah.
But they lost thanks to the old frailties they had last year that haven't been fixed.
Yeah, listen, I think all of those factors can be true. And I think they can all be relevant in the conversation. I think that, I caught a little bit of stick last week when I pointed out three things that I wanted to see better from Manchester United. And I saw Alexi's response on Twitter that included, is goalkeeping one of them? And he was right. Because, even this morning on Counterattack on SiriusXM, I threw it out there to kind of the general public. If you're a Manchester United fan, I can't imagine there's many fans that are out there that are honestly going to say that the three goalkeepers in Onana, Bayindir, and Heaton are good enough at this stage of whatever they're trying to build. Now, all the other fans are going to say, keep them, because they are fantastically inconsistent.
Yes.
And that's the truth.
They're hilarious.
Listen, statistically, they performed really, really well in every metric outside of maybe, sprint recovery and the amount of mileage covered, kilometers covered. And that was more of, I thought Arsenal really struggled with how alone Zubamendi was in the midfield. I was impressed with a system that was identifiable. I was impressed by talking about Manchester United. I was impressed with their ability to play out of pressure, find wide spots, variation of service, transition moments. Buemo and Cunha were incredibly effective. And Dorgu hitting the post, Cunha having his opportunities, and Buemo having great opportunities. I think once they figure out service with Šeško, they're going to be that much more or less. He had these like Zlatan vibes as he was cruising onto the field.
Oh,
just similar size, kind of ego presence. Like it gave like very Zlatan-esque type of vibes. Not that he's Zlatan, but the Zlatan-esque type of vibes. Same question that I said to you last week. Who plays alongside Bruno? Because if it is Casemiro, 8 years ago, it's a completely different conversation. Ugarte, Kobe Mainu, and now we don't give coaches the credit for the substitution patterns. We give the effectiveness of the players the credit. But in moments like this where it doesn't work out, then we look at the substitutions that weren't used, or we look at the timing of the substitutions. For example, Šeško, why not give him 60 minutes and bring Xerxes on for the final, 30 minutes of the match instead of starting Mason Mount? Maybe do Kobe Mainu as the balance as you're trying to get forward for a little bit more, creativity as opposed to Ugarte replacing Casemiro. Just some of those small things. Still waiting for Lisandro Martinez to come back in that. I don't know what's the point of Harry Maguire, even though when Lisandro is available, what's the point of playing him, especially with Heaven on the bench? Because he almost gave up the two unnecessary fouls, which led to free kick opportunities. Bayindir, it's the third time that he's had issues getting off his line. The reason why I remember this being the second time was because last year at Tottenham in the FA Cup had the same problem, and I got laughed at by Gabe and Headley. So I'm very sensitive to this motion. And by the way, David Raya in that second half had a great punch where he comes over and he's getting tugged and pulled. So it's not a foul for me. The Cunha challenge, not a foul for me as well, not a penalty. And I thought overall, Simon Hooper was effective enough as a referee that felt like he was still relying on VAR intervention to kind of escalate to that next level of a big call. Two things can be true also for Arsenal. Number one, I love that Gyökeres, who really had no effect whatsoever, immediately in the first 15 minutes would stand in front of Bayindir when he had the ball in his hand, trying to invoke the referee to give the corner for holding onto the ball for 8 seconds. Done Sethery at its finest. And then set pieces, the way Saliba leans is just enough to get away with it, maybe with a little bit of an arm raise, but then why is Bayindir leaning with his left and still trying to flap as opposed to coming over? So pleased with the performance, not happy with the result. Credit to Arsenal. These are the type of games that they'll look at and say, maybe we didn't win these type of games. Maybe we drew these type of games in the last couple of seasons. But I do have something of concern.
Yeah.
I would like to predict, second show of the season, that the press is going to turn on Amorim, similar to the way they did on Big Ange Postecoglou,
Mm.
because when he is pointedly asked about the goalkeeping situation, my concern is that instead of, well, first he took it in a complete different direction. He's taking the question about goalkeepers and he's talking about his team. Then he's pointedly asked about it. I just feel as though there's such a better option for him to go into the direction of, we are Manchester United. Every single window, we are going to go into it with the aim of making our group better. Am I happy with what I have? Absolutely. Are we content? Absolutely not. In an ideal world, we want the best players available for the competition of spots. That makes everybody better. If he waxes poetic in that general direction, it's much easier than getting trapped, because I feel like what happened to Big Ange Postecoglou, where it's not necessarily, well, it was a love affair, but then creeps in doubt of how good of a manager he really is. If Amorim doesn't start the season rattling off 6 or 7 wins in the first, I don't know, 10, 11, 12 games, I think people are going to start to look at him, start to use the fraud conversation, start to use the, does he really know what he's doing at this level? Start to follow up is this job too big for him? And he's got to be very, very aware, I think, of the English press is looking for its next target. And I wouldn't be surprised if Ruben Amorim is 1A in that target setting.
Well, we are at the point now. We can blame the British press until we're blue in the face, and you know, a
No,
lot
no,
of them
I'm not. But
extremely.
I'm not trying to blame him. I'm just saying, like, this is what inevitably starts to happen.
But yeah, we're saying that the British media go after people, but also, like, you know, they're talking about someone who's lost 15 of 28 games. Like,
Exactly.
that's an unbelievable amount.
Yeah.
He broke a record this week, which I read, which I got from The Athletic, which was he has suffered the most amount of defeats after 15 games in the Premier League of any team that weren't newly promoted that
Yeah.
season. And so the record was Paul Hart for Portsmouth in 2009. Like, this is not just bad for Man United.
Yeah.
It's historically bad in 30 odd years of Premier League football in general form. Like, it's down there with some of the worst teams you could imagine, what he's done over 28 games. So, like, it might be, I won't know the journalist, but it might be a certain journalist and Ange Postecoglou thing, or you can tell even right now won't give any credence to Postecoglou at all. And you could see that in the glowing reviews of their win over Burnley this weekend.
Yeah.
And, like, fair enough, when someone's pissed you off and there's no recovering the relationship and you've got a way to attack, then, you know, fair enough, that's up to you. I'm guilty of that myself at times, but, like, his record is terrible.
Yeah.
It's terrible. And last year, it was just pressure free. And I get to see it through. And there were so many really good points about the weekend. And Cunha's going to be so fun. He is going to love playing in front of that many people and being, just get him the ball, please. Just get him the ball. He's going to love that Fergie time shtick they do it at Man United. But, like, it's bad and it needs to improve. Before we get to the West Ham bit, because I could fill the next 40 minutes with that, just a word on Arsenal. And I wanted to get your reaction to the fact that, like, it wasn't an amazing performance in terms of, like, look at Liverpool and look at Man City this weekend. There were some great flashes from Ekatike and Cherki and Reinders at City, right? All these new guys sort of making it work immediately.
Yeah.
Arsenal still felt very much like the old team, even though kind of Gyökeres was sort of doing a bit of battering ram stuff, but that's what Mourinho was doing. That's what Havertz was doing. Nothing particularly special there week one. And Zubimendi was fine. Sort of move Rice out of again. Can we stop making Declan Rice a number 8 yet and making the best defensive midfielder in the world? Whatever. We have another year of doing this nonsense, I guess. But
gotta name him captain. I heard that's really important.
Yes, I mean that's the Tony Adams bit that you're referencing. I actually think is not too far off because Martin Odegaard, like, he's their only sort of creative force. And again, this weekend, he makes the wrong decision at the wrong time. There's no replacement for what he can do. I think he's very good, Odegaard. He's not world class, nowhere near it. And that's
great halftime interview, by the way.
What was that? How bad was that? What's the point of that? That's so we're doing
welcome,
it now.
Welcome to America, my friend. Welcome to America.
What do you Americans like about that? Because I liked nothing about it at all.
USA.
What's the point?
Well, the hope is transparency. The hope is that you're getting, because we do this all the time here in the States. It could be like literally coin flip kickoff. Hey, Eli Manning, New York Giants, you guys are about to go take your first snap in the Super Bowl, whatever, 39. What are you looking to do? Or, hey, Kobe Bryant, you're coming back in for the start of the fourth quarter. What needs to be better? We have these intimacy moments And I think that's the idea is to try to bring the intimacy back. I'm
Do
hoping
you
that
want this though, Dunny? Like, I mean, I don't get it at all. I don't get it.
it could
I
be a
mean, remember,
nothing sandwich or a nothing burger, or it could be something
but
that's really fascinating.
from a US perspective, I get it because all your sports are so crap, and so there's loads of little breaks where, like,
Wait till
everyone's
you
sitting around.
look up Popovich.
Everyone's sitting around for a bit, or like they're making substitutions and entire team changes. Like some NFL teams never play offense because they're all
Oh,
defense.
here we
It's so
go.
dumb.
Here we
So
go.
like a lot of guys just sit around doing at all. Sorry, Tim, for the entirety. That's one. That's one. And I've got
a
the Potter
big
stuff
one.
to come.
Yeah.
But like I don't get it. It gave us nothing, and I just want my team in a game like that. I want my captain back in the dressing room and like rallying the troops, talking to the manager, working out what we're doing next. It's a
He's just
very
gonna go
tight.
take a piss, take his boots off, switch
Maybe,
his socks, change his
but
jersey,
that's
get yelled
great.
at a bit. That's
I
it.
want him to do that. I want him
And
to
then
have that
sit
entire
around.
15 minutes to focus on the second half. And instead, he's talking to so and so from Sky saying, yeah, we played well in that first half, but in like Norwegian. Like, it was stupid. But like, going back to it, my question was, it felt to me like a game in like late April, early May for Arsenal in the way they played, the lack of risk, the scoring the corner again, and then sort of shutting the game down best they could. It got a bit basketball-y, but right, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But like, did you get the sense there was a pressure on Arsenal on week one that wasn't on City and Liverpool? That's kind of the question. Or was it just the size of the game?
Well, I mean, I think it's subconsciously one of the reasons why I chose them to be my Premier League winner at the end of the season. And I don't know if this is like I'm oddly applying Mikel Arteta pressure by myself on Arsenal, because all of these other teams are picking up pieces of silverware somewhere down the line. But this is also a Champions League semifinalist that has added Zubamendi, the piece in the midfield that they were looking for to complement Declan Rice and whoever else is in that pocket. And then Gyökeres coming over from Sporting Lisbon is the 9 that we've been literally screaming from the roof of what if Arsenal had a number 9. So the effect wasn't there. He wasn't as dynamic as maybe I expected him. And there's a whole nother conversation there with Manchester United, Ruben Amorim, and all that conversation. But ultimately, those again are the games where I don't need them to be beautiful. I don't need them to pass any of these eyeball tests, because when you're going away from home, what is the effective result you're looking for? You're looking for 3 points. So
Yeah.
boxes checked. And I think what they're going to have to show is, again, turning losses into draws into wins. If that's the case, objective was clearly defined and executed at Old Trafford.
Yeah, it was a very even game. Could have been a draw, and they got the win. So
Man
that's
United was better, but whatever.
Yeah, they were kind of, but they didn't win.
Yeah,
Sorry,
true.
Ruben. Look forward to unemployment. Maybe he'll get replaced by Graham Potter. I don't know. Let's talk a bit about this because
Oh boy.
yeah, I've had a couple of rants on this today, and I did a couple of West Ham podcasts this morning before before the show on Sirius XM FC. So like, I've done a fair amount on this today. So I'd like your more not to wind me up view and give me your actual view, because I'd be fascinated to see what you thought. But like my broad rant, I'll give you some of it now. I'll give you a little taste of it. Is that Graham Potter, a bit like Amorim, had all that time, right? He said all that time, back end of last season, it was a bit of a dead rubber season. There was maybe a little bit of a wobble when he first came in, and could they go down? But in the end, you could be woeful and stay up last season, which may well not be like that this season. I think Burnley will be awful. The other two might get plus 30, and we'll see where we are. But like, last season was a free hit. He then has a free summer, and I keep hearing from people for years and years and years about tactical acumen and emotional intelligence and what a good job he did at Swansea and Brighton. And I've always thought, was it though? Was it? It was okay. Was it actually particularly good? And then at Chelsea, he was overwhelmed and was sacked almost immediately. He was utterly useless. He then comes into West Ham, Potter, and he's had now 8 or 9 months to look, play dead rubbers, have a summer tour to America, have a full pre-season, have a big transfer window, all of that. And we come into this first game of the season having had a pretty decent pre-season. He's been playing Dan Potts in central midfield, who might not be experienced, but he can move. And so you think, oh, okay, that makes sense. Multiple times, he has tried to drop Thomas Souček. And then he brings him back in because he realizes without Thomas Souček, there's no threat from midfield areas. And again, he has to bring him on at the weekend. But at the start of the game, doesn't play him. He keeps trying to make Lucas Paqueta work. Lucas Paqueta has not had an assist since all TVs were in black and white, since we watched E.T. on Betamax. That's how long it's been. 43 games, I think it was, the last time Lucas Paqueta had an assist. And bearing in mind, an assist can be, I always reference this one, Antonio Valencia once passed right to Paul Pogba. Paul Pogba struck it in then from 40 yards, and that was given as an assist to Antonio Valencia. That's how easy it is to get an assist. And Paqueta has simply not got one, right? So the team comes out. I'm looking at it thinking, okay, full group Bowen, that's fine. Like, these are the free centre halves. I don't think they're good, as we spoke about last week, but it's fine. That's what they're going to play. Wing backs, yeah. New keeper, yeah, fine. He was crap on the day, but before that, we didn't know. And the midfield was James Ward-Prowse and Guido Rodriguez. And I just, like, Guido Rodriguez disappeared off the face of the earth in February. And then he came back weirdly for the Man United win in, like, early May.
Yeah.
We didn't see him again because we thought he was leaving. He played half of one of the games, I think, against Everton in Chicago or something. And then he didn't play again. And then suddenly, he's starting the first Premier League game. And it's a bit like, okay, that's weird. To have Guido Rodriguez and James Ward-Prowse playing in central midfield in the year of our Lord, 2025, in the Pace and Power League is insane. It's actually insane. And when on Friday and last week I had a bit of pre-season positivity, when I saw a couple of people put West Ham in their bottom three, and I thought, but to do that with this squad, which again might not be amazing, but it's not the third worst squad in the league. It's better than that, and they certainly pay top 10 wages.
Yeah,
there's a few players on $100,000 a week at that club, which is insane, by the way. But whatever, they pay fine for the top 6, 7 players in the squad. But like to say that they're going to be in the bottom three, you're saying Graham Potter is a blithering idiot. And you told me for years that he is cerebral and needs time to build and it's a slow burn. Well, I'm sorry. I would say 9 months is a slow fucking burn. Sorry, Tim. After 9 months, you can have sex and have a baby in that time, right?
Really? Really?
It's doable. For elephants, you could have had 10 kids. I don't know how long elephant gestation takes, but for rabbits, I could have had 7,000 rabbits in that time.
That's true.
And in that time, Graham Potter hasn't decided that Guido Rodriguez can't fucking run. Sorry, Tim. Last one. And if you can't make an observation that basic, I don't know. He is a blithering idiot to think that. And then to go 1-0 down in that game, we've got 3 centre-halves who can't win a header. Yeah. And Sunderland were like, right, toss it in. They're going to win the header, which they did. Hermanson had a bad game. Probably the worst game he's ever going to have for West Ham. But he made 2 of them he probably should have saved. Fine. And the defenders were crap, but we know they're crap, so you've got to work with that. Fine. But, like, to make these basic things after 8 months, to know it, like, he must know it. Yeah. So to do it, what was his thinking there? It's the Pace and Power League, and he started 2 5-foot-nothings who cannot run. I don't get it.
By the way, the tifo and the music when that dropped at Sunderland was extraordinary.
That tifo was not extraordinary. That tifo was what, like a dragon being stabbed through the neck by St. George.
Slaying the dragon.
Moronic. Tifos are moronic. It was literally a project done by my daughter's reception class. They are all brilliant. Crap. They are all crap.
I really enjoyed it. Very Games of Thrones-y. Yeah, listen, Jared Bowen.
The last series.
Yeah, I love the ending. Here I
am, look. Really? Here I am. Here's the last episode. All the lights are off. Great.
What happened?
No one knows what happened.
By the way, Jared Bowen scores that goal in the 3rd minute. We're talking a completely different game.
Yeah, he didn't, though.
I know he didn't. He didn't. Granit Xhaka, man. Does he know the names of his teammates at this point? I'm still asking for the captain because when he did that entry level TikTok, Instagram thing, hey, who are you looking forward to playing with? I'm looking forward to play with everybody.
I'd have to say my favorite album is The Best of the Beatles.
The best of 2024. What was I going to say? So West Ham, defensive issues, midfield struggles, inability to capitalize on chances. That's it. I mean, that's the easiest way. That's going to be, for me, the broad stroke all season long. And how they figure out ways to manufacture moments. My concern is, again, by the way, Karen Brady, credit to her for stepping in front of the camera because she didn't have to. She chose to. That's a big slap in the face that the club's going to take based on the start of the season. So for someone to step forward, I do give her credit, even though it was a nothing burger when it was all said
She
and
got
done.
her tummy tickled for half an hour and
It
left. No
wasn't a
one,
lot.
no
Yeah.
one asked her a proper
Yeah,
question for
yeah,
half an
yeah,
hour. It was pathetic.
yeah. I know. Listen, everything's PR nowadays, right? Everything that we're rolling out is PR. So it's the biggest question: can they win the games that they're supposed to win? I don't think they're relegated in any way, shape, or form, but I also don't believe they're anything more than a mid-table team with the start of this season. You've got infrastructure change behind the scenes. You've got some type of money being spent, and ultimately, you've got a roster that you predicted would never fit Graham Potter's tactics. You said this from day one. You said this back when we were trying to figure out what West Ham was going to do on the backside of my prediction that the possibility of being a top four finisher after capitalizing in the investment for the Declan Rice money. So ultimately, they are where they are, and that's going to be a big unknown. And maybe Randy, we just wait and see until October. You know, kind of the theory that October is when we got a true understanding of what these squads look like and what they're capable and how quickly we hit the panic button on the backside of the return from the international window. Until then, I think life's going to be really, really painful for you and really, really fun for me.
Yeah, look, I
When you
mean,
start growling, I know I'm onto something.
no, I just don't think you should wait till. I mean, the window
I
is
know.
open now
I
for
know.
2 weeks as we are. And look, I don't think sacking Graham Potter is the answer because who are they going to hire next? Like, all they do, they've got no idea what they're doing. Beyond David Moyes, there's no one they've hired of the 9 I think they've hired who've been good. Maybe Bilic, I guess, for the first year. So 2 of
He was
9.
good. He was fun.
2 of 9 are success stories in one way or the other. The other ones have been diabolical. But like, last bit on this, and I want to move us on because I know we haven't got a great deal of time today. But like, I just think that the window is open and what he wants to do, the formation is clear. It's what Thomas Frank did. It's what Crystal Palace play.
Yeah.
He wants to do what Oliver Glasner has done at Crystal Palace, more or less. I think there's loads of equivalent players in this team. I think the wing backs, Diouf and Wan-Bissaka, are just as good as what Palace have got. I think up front, Bowen and unfortunately full crew, but I'd probably have put Wilson in this weekend, are as good as what Mateta and Eza can do. Like, people tell me Paqueta's good. I've never seen that with my eyeballs, but is he as good as Ismail Assar? Well, let's hope so.
I don't think you're anywhere near in the athleticism category that Crystal Palace is.
No, but this is the point.
Yeah.
In central midfield, they have guys who can run. Even Will
100%.
Hughes can run
Yeah.
compared
Yeah.
to us. Wharton can run.
Yeah.
Right? And it's so he wants to do the Palace thing, but it's so evident where this problem is. I knew this problem, and I'm a schlub. I knew this when they lost against Chelsea under Lopetegui in August 2024. We did the show, and I said it. We have done it over and over again. There's been a change of manager. There's been a change of formation. We're in a new season. The problem is pace and power from midfield in the pace and power league. Sunderland this weekend had 2 new signings alongside Granit Xhaka. You know what they had? Pace and power.
Yeah.
They are findable. They are everywhere. I could name you 6 or 7 they could buy today that have not moved yet. And the people who haven't done it are the people who can do it. And it's just baffling to me.
That's fair.
Anyway, let's get to this Crystal Palace free kick because sometimes in football, right? I mentioned this to you before, and I make our commentators do it at Premier League Live as well. They have the IFAB app open. Or they have the webpage open. And so when something happens in a game, it's just open. It's on your phone. If you're a super loser like me, have it on your phone.
Yeah.
Because if something happens and you're like, what does handball mean again? Like, I hate it when commentators say, who even knows what handball is anymore? Well, here it is. So you're interpreting from these words. So give that a whirl.
Yeah.
Anyone can be stupid. Read this and tell people what it is, right? I think that's better. But this rule was, if not a new one on me, I knew it was a thing. I have never seen it implemented before,
First time for me as well. Yep.
to my mind.
Yep.
So it's the International Football Association Board Law 13, which states that when 3 or more defending team players form a wall, all attacking players must remain at least 1 meter from the wall until the ball is in play. This has been a law of the game since 2019. And you've seen a bit of a rise in the attacking wall and the defensive wall, right? That's sort of been a bit of a thing. I have never seen this given. I have never seen this punished one way or the other. I have seen goals allowed when it's evident the walls have run into each other. So why do you think this weekend was the weekend they decided, that rule really matters today?
No idea. And I don't know if the push from Gahey allows VAR to subsequently get to a higher stage of intervention. But this also, there's a couple things for me. This kind of falls into the category of, this one's way more frequent though, of arms in natural positions, but the amount of distance between the ball being served and hitting a player's arm, the idea of even if he's serving this ball, is it with purpose to a player on the ground or on the, a moving player, or is this just a hopeful ball into the box? What type of deflection? Is it effectively a shot? And if so, is that shot on frame? To your point, the words that are there on the paper are still then applied differently. And when we just saw Howard Webb this last week before the start of the season talk about how they were really going to cut down on the grappling inside the penalty area, and there was multiple opportunities for referees to blow fouls for the defensive team and point to the spot for the offensive team. So in all of this, it just goes to show, man, there is this weird gray area of human intervention that comes into play. Like, for example, Cunha and that tackle on Cunha in the second half for Manchester United. I'm convinced if Simon Hooper blows the whistle and points to the spot, VAR is not intervening because there's some type of collision, there's some type of touch, even though I still don't think it's a foul. So I don't like it. It sucks. And if that was indeed the last opportunity for Eze to find the back of the net, what a way to go out, specific to the potential for winning the 3 points. But again, these small details, I understand they're laws of the game and they are applicable, but we're kind of still picking. We're in this still in this weird gray area of picking and choosing when we want to implement the laws of the game versus like a little bit of a blind eye to things.
And that leads me to one other quick bit before I ask you about Thomas Muller and Son this weekend, because I'm intrigued to see how they're getting on. Did you see much of Tottenham against Burnley? There was a historic moment in the game where Martin Dubravka, who started in goal, held the ball for 14 seconds and Tottenham got a corner.
Yeah.
And I want to get your view on it, but I'll just say I thought I was going to like this. I thought it was quite smart. But then I watched a whole bunch of other games this weekend where there's no way it was an 8-second count. Because, in the end, the referees how much they juggle is insane. They're juggling so much stuff from on the field, off the field, bloke in their ear, another bloke in their other ear.
Yeah.
It's all going on. They're obviously mulling over what they're doing. They're running a lot. I can't run and think at the same time. It's impossible for fatzos like me, right? It's very difficult. So, they're doing all that going on. But, it didn't happen every time this weekend, but it did happen here. And I thought a corner was too much of a reward. It was too much. It wasn't fair.
We see it out here. We haven't seen it a lot out here in Major League Soccer, but we have seen it out here. I quite honestly, I think the referees almost forgot about it because there were certainly times where it was more than 8 seconds. It was more than 10 seconds. The implementation of the law, I like it because you're trying to speed up play. And it used to be like 5 seconds and then drop ball, set piece opportunity, blah, blah, blah. Now, this isn't subjective. This is a physical punishment if the referee holds onto the ball. But I don't know if you caught this during broadcast. Did you see Gyökeres in the first 15 minutes? He would literally go stand in front of Bayindir. So what Arsenal then was trying to do was the dark arts, the Dunsethery, the manipulation of the game to see if they could force the referee, Simon Hooper, to then not just speed up the count, but say, he's got to play the ball, got to play the ball, got to play the ball. So there's a manipulation in the law that already is being exposed by Arsenal and their coaching staff by recognizing, hey, one of our best goal scoring opportunities is off set pieces and corners. Let's see if we can get maybe one. Maybe we can get 2 opportunities and see if we can take advantage of it. I like it. There is jeopardy involved, but I think we will see goalkeepers more conscious of how long. And again, it's leniency. It's really to about the 10-second mark. But then when they're like 1, 2, 3, they start counting. Once you see the hand go up, then, it's got to be played a little bit quicker.
It's getting so American now. We are going to have a
Come on,
at some point soon, no doubt about it. And speaking of what's happening in America, I saw a great video this week. I think the Whitecaps drew 1-1 in their game this weekend, but I saw a brilliant video of Thomas Muller being so Thomas Muller in this game, I think on debut, pointing and screaming and directing and just generally being the manager from day one, which he did at Bayern for 20 years. How was he? How did he look? Do you think he's going to go well?
He was great. He came in for the better part of about 25, 27 minutes. He actually scored a goal within the first 2 minutes of coming on. Hit a lawn dart from 25 yards out. Just ball came back, smashed it past the goalkeeper. Unfortunately, Brian White was judged to have been in offside position when the initial play came in the build-up to that goal. Listen, he's not Thomas Muller from 10 years ago, but he still can run. He was back pressing and tackling. The fans were loving the effort, the simplicity in which he played. He was pointing out directions to open up space. It's really going to benefit a guy like Sebastian Berhalter, who has been excellent in the midfield alongside Kubas. Brian White's going to benefit. It sounds like Ryan Gauld's on his way back after being out for the better part of the last 6 months, it feels like, with that knee injury. Brilliant signing. He wants to be there. Similar to Son Heung-min, he understands the responsibility for all of the commercial side of the aspects, whether it's TikTok and Instagram and Twitter, or it's the sit-downs, Apple TV interviews and whatnot. He's going to make everyone better. I think it's a brilliant signing. And on top of that, I'm not sure if you noticed, but what was heading into the season and the conversation about Vancouver Whitecap ownership looking to sell the team has now adjusted. Now they're looking for co-ownership and investment. They're looking to build their own soccer-specific stadium, if not renegotiating a stadium deal with BC Place, which is something that predates their time in Major League Soccer. I think it's a brilliant signing, and they check all the boxes. Certainly makes them a serious contender and elevates their status in the Western Conference.
And just final bit, going to Son briefly. When my brother-in-law went to LA 2 or 3 years ago, he bought me an LAFC shirt. I think it was the last time they won MLS Cup. There's no name on the back. If I get Son printed in Korean on the back, how much money am I in to make here? Because there's none in LA, right? No one can buy one.
No, listen, it's the #1 selling jersey in all sports in the world right now. Sonny's jersey. So,
do you have the numbers for that? I know I'm just throwing under the bus.
No, I don't. But it's more than Curry, LeBron, than Messi, and I know it's more of like it's a new signing. But yeah, Fanatics outselling everything, every other sports jersey around the world. So the black and gold is out. The white and gold is filthy. It looks so clean with the collar. And again, we talk about the commercial appeal. People don't realize that he's kind of like Beckham-esque rock star status, and specific to the Asian community, South Korean community, even the Mexican community, because of what happened in 2018 at the World Cup. He is beloved by so many. I think I told this story. I'm not sure if I did. BMO Stadium, LAFC did a collab with Hello Kitty, and this was about a month ago. People were lined up outside of the stadium like 3 hours prior to the gates opening. And if you weren't out there, like you didn't get in, if you showed up like an hour and a half early, you were SOL. Now this is massive. He starts on the road to Chicago, goes to New England, got an assist, game-winning assist. I don't know if you saw the fist pump afterwards. Like, he is so into it. They go to Dallas next week, and then they're home for his debut against San Diego. I wish I was a part of that broadcast because it's absolutely going to be a sellout. But we're seeing South Korean flags everywhere. We're seeing Tottenham jerseys everywhere. And now we're seeing sunny LAFC jerseys everywhere. Massive signing. I don't know how much it has to do with the $10 million they made by beating Club America and their participation in the FIFA Club World Cup. Certainly helps offset that. But LAFC still in the market for another designated player and another U22 player on top of signing Canadian international Chouanière and Scottish international Ryan Porteous, the center back.
Do you know what the second most popular shirt in the world is at the moment?
Messi?
Guido Rodriguez is the second most
Liar!
successful shirt. Anyway, that's Week in the Tackle for this week. Another one next week when we lost 7-0 against Chelsea on Friday.
Oh, it's going to happen.
Oh, dear. I've given my ticket back. I've literally given it back. I'm not going. I would rather sit at home with my wife watching the Bake Off than go to that game. I want to find out what happened when I arrive at work on Saturday morning. I just cannot sit through unless they buy 2 midfielders this week. And apparently they think Guido's good enough. So anyway, Week in the Tackle is what this podcast is called. Subscribe on YouTube. Go to YouTube. Subscribe right now. It is free. That means the show will come into your algorithm and it'll be great. And then that, because you're subscribed to the podcast already, that means that when you're walking around, jump in on the podcast side of things when you left the house. So you get to watch us for 20 minutes and listen for 20 minutes every Monday. What more could you want? And wherever you are listening as a podcast, give us a 5-star rating. And if you can write a review, be it YouTube, be it anywhere, do it. And we periodically read out our favorite reviews on the program as well, normally during the summer when nothing's going on and we want to go on holiday and we just make stuff up.
What's that? What's a holiday?
Well, hold on. Sure, not for 11 months, but then you go on holiday, buddy. Tim and I have done this show without you.
Christmas time. I'll be gone for a while.
Tim and I'll be doing the Christmas shows. They're going to suck. Anyway, that's Brian Dunseth. I'm Tom Rennie. Tim Horsey produced the program. Subscribe to the show. We'll see you next week.